In the news tonight, adhere or face lockdown. No mask, no ride. And funeral screening exceeds 500.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulawanaka, Fiji. The Health Ministry has warned that a national lockdown is a real possibility if people don't follow advisories. With concerns over the lax attitude of some individuals, Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong has put the people of Suva, Nosori and Lami on notice. For more, we join Christina Uluwai.
Edwin, the message couldn't be any clearer. If people continue to flout COVID-19 restrictions, if masks are not worn, if there is no social distancing, the Health Ministry will make people comply by implementing a nationwide lockdown. Now, Dr. Fong is adamant that this is a worst-case scenario, so long as people follow public health measures and don't force his hand. The only other time such a drastic step would be considered is if authorities assess that there is a real threat where a large portion of the population could be infected.
Christiana, how much lead time will there be if this happens?
Edwin, Dr. Fong revealed today that police are ready to implement a lockdown immediately. It's an indication that authorities are not making empty threats and are in a position to act on it. Apart from police, Edwin, the Health Ministry has been meeting with all government agencies on a daily basis to plan out contingencies if a lockdown does happen. And to quote Dr. Fong, it will come suddenly and without warning. Edwin.
Naka Christiana. Now, it's not a lockdown, but there will be restricted movement across Viti Levu from 7 p.m. tomorrow to 4 a.m. Monday. Permanent Secretary for Health, Dr. James Fong, says during this time, only movement for essential purposes will be allowed. This means people will be allowed to access medical services, visit the pharmacy, or buy essential items from shops and supermarkets.
You don't leave your home at all. That's a curfew. So you found walking around 2 o'clock in the morning, you get arrested. That's curfew. Essential movement is, as I defined previously, you want to go to the pharmacy, you got a medical problem that you need to sort out, you urgently need some food, you go quickly, you come back home. But if you're seen loitering around with a group of boys playing rugby or sitting in the grounds drinking, having a cut and a beer, then of course you'll be stuck. I don't think I can be any more. I mean, there is a level of common sense when we're talking about essential movement. You have to go for a good purpose.
Face masks are the front line in the fight to prevent any further spread of COVID-19 in the community. PS for Health Dr. James Fong has applauded Fijians already practicing the safety measure, but more people need to do the same for it to be effective. Dr. Fong says Fijians are still crowding up without face masks in places like bus stands, putting fear in the hearts of many Fijians. He adds face masks can be bought and even made at home, meaning there is no excuse for people not covering their nose and mouth.
If you are wearing a mask below your nose, it's no longer a mask, it's a mouth guard. The mask has to cover your nose and your mouth to keep you and those around you safe. It would take one maskless person on a bus or a minibus to turn that vehicle into a super spreader event on wheels.
We now join Apanisa Wangairandovu live from the Suva bus stand. Apanisa, some stringent measures have also been announced with regards to public transport today. Tell us more.
Edwin, to put it simply, no mask, no ride. Face mask will be made compulsory for all Fijians using public transport effective tomorrow. The LTA will be monitoring and they will remove passengers if they are using these, if they are traveling in buses, taxi and minibuses without wearing a face mask. Any PSV without a mask will be asked to park the vehicle on the spot and go home. Drivers must also refuse passengers if they show up without a mask. If there is repeated abuse of these directives, some public transport services will be stopped altogether. For commuters, physical distancing is also a must.
Apanisa, what about requirements on businesses?
Edwin, businesses, especially retail outlets, rather, are being asked to be role models, as customers to show the Care Fiji app, wear a mask before entry, and limit shop capacity to 50% or less. Employees must also adhere to the same requirements. Any business that does not comply will be closed down immediately. Edwin.
Naka Panisa. Meanwhile, with the announcement about face masks earlier today, Fijians were seen slowly getting on board with the national push to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In the capital city, Minister Parveen Kumar was distributing masks to those walking around without any protection. Apanisa Wangarendovo reports.
The busy corners of the greater Suva were targeted for the distribution of face masks today.
We are trying to target areas where there is mass movement of people, and this is one such area.
The majority of Fijians moving about are seen to be practicing COVID-19 safety measures, but there are also those Fijians who are either disregarding the instruction to wear safety masks or are simply unaware of the stringent measures that are in place for the safety of all Fijians.
I have no radio and I was surprised to see people in masks, so I'm trying to get one.
Just came out with this because I don't have the money to buy a mask, so if I do have the money, then I'll buy the mask, you know.
We just got off the bus from Ra, and I'm worried about our lives, and right now we're looking for face masks.
The Ministry of Health says people need to realize that while not mandatory, face masks are critical in attempts to subdue any further outbreaks of COVID-19.
If we become overly draconian, then we can end up filling up our courthouse and our jail, but the message will not get through.
On some streets, people have realized there is money to be made and have set up ad hoc stalls selling face masks. For most retail outlets, businesses and government offices, these masks are a conditions of entry. Apenisa Wangarendovu, FBC News.
And more Fijians who attended the funeral at Tavakumbu in Lautoka over the weekend have been screened. Around 300 Fijians out of the initial 500 who were present at the funeral have been screened, with the ministry giving its team in Lautoka extra 500 swabs for testing. The funeral has been classified a super spreader.
I can only presume that as they spoke to the people they tested, they were able to find out more and more, and the denominator kept changing over time. But that's the nature of a super spreader event. The super spreader event means it's a super spreader. You don't know what's the final number. You just keep on looking, keep on looking, keep on looking, until you get no more new cases for a prolonged period of time. Then you know, okay, I've controlled the super spreader event.
There are no new cases either in the community or in managed isolation as Fiji's battle against the second wave of COVID-19 continues. For 5 consecutive days, Fiji has been recording new cases daily. The first case outside of overseas arrivals was recorded on Sunday. Pranita Prakash reports.
The active COVID-19 cases in Fiji remains at 19.
The 3 Fijians living on Moturiki we suspected may have been exposed to the virus have all tested negative for COVID-19. We are going to maintain the island as a containment area until the 14-day incubation period expires because they were exposed. However, these test results do confirm that these 3 Fijians were not contagious while they traveled to Moturiki from Lautoka.
The active cases remain in isolation, says Head of Health Protection, Dr. Alisha Sahukhan.
So 5 of these are all the border quarantine cases that were announced before Sunday, April 18th. 9 are recently announced border quarantine cases, and 5 other locally transmitted cases that have been all linked back to the RFMF soldier who was infected in a border quarantine facility.
Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong says they have increased their testing capacity. The Health Ministry has been doing around 1,000 tests daily, which is more than the 600 tests they had thought they were capable of. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Up ahead, capital city enforces strict measures. And shocking revelations in alleged murder trial. Welcome back. The COVID-19 vaccination program will start next week. The Health Ministry hopes to roll out its vaccination program by Wednesday. Lena Rees reports.
The Health Ministry is confident there will be no overcrowding at vaccination centers.
We have a target to work with, and then we have to make sure that we have all the mask restrictions and things all applied in those areas.
Dr. Fong assures everyone will be vaccinated.
Indications are that we're going to get a lot. And the indications are that we are going to get enough for all the people that we need to vaccinate. It just will roll out over the whole year.
The daily tests for COVID-19 has also increased.
Currently, we know that based on our level of testing, we are testing enough. And of course, the testing is expected to only increase as we increase our capacity with the arrival, hopefully soon, of new gene expert machines.
The Health Ministry has to date conducted a total of 45,995 COVID-19 laboratory tests. Lena Reese, FBC News.
The capital city has implemented some of the strictest protocols that any municipality has to date in an effort to contain the spread of the coronavirus. All Fijians are now required to wear face masks when traveling into Suva city and will not be allowed inside the market, supermarkets, shops or any building if they don't have a mask. Lena Reese again.
Masks will be made mandatory for anyone wanting to visit the Suva city.
One is that we will not even allow them entry to Suva because they will have the restriction from it actually getting to the bus. And further, we will not even allow them to get into the market. We will not allow them to go to the shops because they will be doing the same thing.
Changes have also been implemented at the Suva market.
The other thing that we've done is it's mandatory now, it's compulsory that all market vendors have to have masks all the time.
The market vendors have welcomed the stringent measures in place.
We are also telling our customers to wear masks because we don't want this virus to spread and we don't want a lockdown.
Well, we will be safe and people won't get the virus.
Market vendors have quickly adhered to the instructions and the plans that have been put in place by the Suva City Council to protect its vendors as well as consumers. Also, other market vendors have taken an extra step in purchasing their own hand sanitizers to allow their customers to sanitize before they purchase their goods. Lena Reese, FBC News.
A number of Nandi market vendors have had to fork out more in order to secure their produce for sale. Following the lockdown of Nandi and Lautoka on Monday morning, vendors have had to travel to the borders of the restricted area to buy their order from suppliers. Felipe Naikaso has more.
While these vendors are grateful that they can get their supplies across the borders of the lockdown area, they are concerned that some farmers have been profiteering by raising prices.
This time is very hard for us because the vendors are here just in Nassau. All the farmers, they put the price up.
An example given by the vendors was that before the recent lockdown, the price of a bag of eggplant was $30, but now it ranges from $50 to $60.
I negotiate with them. They have to drop their price so it can cover my transport cost.
One of the solutions the vendors have come up with is that a few of them get together and share the expenses of traveling to the border.
The suppliers can't come here and even the things are very shortage. So we have to take out our time and plus we have to give our own transportation.
The vendors say since the lockdown, sales have been dropping every day and they've been paying higher wholesale prices. But while struggling like so many Fijians during the current lockdown, the vendors have been very positive about adhering to the COVID protocols. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
Congo national Henry Lusaka apparently sent pictures of lifeless Jennifer Ann Downs to her father in Australia. This was revealed in the Suva High Court as 39-year-old Lusaka's murder trial continued today. Lusaka is alleged to have killed his 44-year-old wife Jennifer Ann Downs in July 2019 at their rented home on Service Street in Suva.
The victim's father, Christopher Downs, gave evidence via Skype from Australia today. Downs said he started receiving several calls, messages and photographs from Lusaka days before the alleged murder. He said after a while he stopped answering Lusaka's calls as he felt incapable of having a sensible conversation with the accused. Downs testified that on the 23rd of July 2019 at around 11 a.m. Fiji time, he received pictures of his lifeless daughter through Facebook. His emotions said he called a police station in Suva, however he did not receive a response. He then called one of his daughter's colleagues who informed the head of the UN Food Program about the alleged incident. He said the next day his family arrived in Fiji and were able to view Jennifer's body at the Suva morgue. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
An environmentalist believes a lot more is needed to educate the people on harmful effects of plastic. Despite numerous campaigns and steps by the government, plastic waste continues to be a problem. Christiana Uluwai reports.
Due to its easy accessibility, many Fijians are still using plastic products.
I know that there is a very predominant culture of convenience that we cannot avoid. Plastics is a very convenient product, but you know the only starts with the general public. If we start to deviate from using plastics, then we probably could, I could use the word cripple the supply chains.
Addressing the issue of plastic waste requires a shift in perception.
I think the top of the priority list is the rethink way. And that the onus is on everyone that uses plastics.
Maria Romano says majority of the waste collected during the Nambukalo Creek cleanup in Suva were plastics.
From that 1 ton, at least 40% of the waste was plastics, like snack food wrappers and PET bottles, straws, other plastic items. Also notable was aluminum cans.
Even with recycling programs and awareness, a substantial amount of plastic ends up in the environment. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
Still to come, US pledges to halve emissions by 2030. And later in sports, not the end of the road for 7-star Modena Dangi.
Villagers of Vunivutu in Maduata are cashing in on how popular suki is becoming. The villagers make suluka or pandanus leaves used in rolling a suki. Eleanor Torangaivu has the story.
Seleuca has now become a main source of income for villagers of Vunivutu in Maduata.
It's really good money. This week alone we have 2 $500 orders. We even get orders for $3,000.
It's only been a few years now since the villagers discovered the monetary benefits of making Seleuca. There is no stopping them now.
We can go 4 or 5 times in a week. It's easy money and anyone can do it. It's giving us the money to buy basic food items at home.
Making Seleuca can take only a day. The withered pandanus leaves are collected, cut into similar sizes and left in the sun to dry. Once dried, the process of separating the outer layer of the leaves starts.
This is the only bit that takes time. You have to do it properly. After this, the strips are tied together, 25 strips in one batch, then we string them together in tents.
This is the final product. Each of these costs $10. This bag contains 50 of these and it's now ready to be sent to a customer in Nausori.
Our market extends to Viti level from Suva right to the west. They just call us, give their order, send their money, and we make their suluka and send it.
Making Seleuca has become a village affair as everyone does it, men, women and children alike. Eleanor Turangevu, FBC News.
The Employment Ministry has not received any complaints from workers in the confinement areas. Minister Praveen Kumar says the employers are being urged to liaise with employees and reach a mutual understanding. While distributing face masks in Nambua, the minister says if issues arise, they will investigate.
That will be between the employer and employee. They have got their own contracts and they will have to act according to the contracts. There is no stoppage in regards to the employment or the employees going to work. That's happening. I haven't received any complaint of such.
Here the local exchange rates as set early this morning. When the Fiji dollar drops versus the major international currencies, it tends to rise against the region's currencies. And that was the story today, as the Sangamoli rose versus the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, while it fell against the other international currencies we cover. Prices were mixed on the commodities market. Oil rose a few cents, approaching $62 a barrel. Gold dropped a few dollars at $1,787 per ounce, and silver closed down at $26.23 per ounce. Today's global monetary trading has been rather cautious. Sinifa is here from HFC Bank to tell us more.
The US dollar was hemmed into a narrow trading range today as traders contemplated moves by major central banks ahead of the US Federal Reserve meeting next week. While no major policy changes are expected, investors will pay close attention to any comments about scaling back monetary easing in the future. Data on manufacturing and services in both the US and Germany are due later tonight. The figures could support a positive outlook, but the dollar and the euro are unlikely to move much before the Fed's meeting. Elsewhere, the Euronest losses after European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde squashed expectations that policymakers will consider tapering off bond purchases due to an improving economic outlook. Closer to home, the Australia and New Zealand dollars steadied, but traders said risks are pointed to the downside due to a recent weakening in commodity prices. That's all from HFC Bank for this week. Stay safe and take care.
In growing Fiji tonight, work on the expansion of the Nassori Airport runway continues. The runway will be extended from 1,670 meters to 2,140 meters and widened from 30 meters to 45 meters. The $45 million runway upgrade is designed to enable more international flights to land in Nassori. The airport expansion, once complete, will create more economic activity in the Central Division. That is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, we give you more details on Suva's new health measures. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Nasilai villages in Tailevu have lost over 15 acres of land in the last 20 years due to climate change. The village, located along the Rewa River bank, is slowly eroding and residents fear they may have to relocate soon. Sainya Nimboila reports.
Around 5 houses are situated near the riverbank, and the occupants say climate change is slowly robbing them of their land.
There used to be an island here. It has also eroded and washed away. The water level continues to rise, moving closer to the house along this side.
I have been living here for 75 years. I have seen a major change due to climate change. It's starting to eat up our land, trees. So imagine what will happen in the next 5 years.
Where I'm currently standing used to be a livestock farm, but this is now no more due to climate change. The Liberata says this needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
The island that was here used to be our plantation. We used to raise cows, pigs, but now it's all gone. We are scared what our future will be like.
The Selai villagers are pleading with the relevant authorities to help them keep their land safe. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
A young chef who recently lost his job due to COVID-19 has ventured into Mexican cuisine. 27-year-old Nathanieli Lavolalau, who's worked at some resorts, says lying idle after the tourism industry came to a halt would not take him anywhere. Kelly Vadala reports.
Taco Boy Fiji was established in 2020.
Recently, I've been employed at the Marriott and the Six Senses. Then things started to collide from there since this COVID-19 thing happened.
Nathanieli Lavolalau sells his cuisine at the Rock Market and Today FM Thurston Garden Market Day every month.
My menu consists of burritos, nachos, quesadillas, and tacos.
The Tailevu man says he needed to continue working to support his family.
I have a young daughter. She's turning 2 this November, so I had to find a way.
Lavolaulau's dream is to have his own restaurant and hopefully tap into other cuisines. Kelly Vadala, FPC News.
The Suva City Council and the Fiji Police Force will closely monitor the practice of COVID-19 safety measures in the capital city in light of the current COVID-19 situation. FBC News spoke to SCC Special Administrators Chair Isikeli Tikonduandua.
Following the meeting you had this morning with the Fiji Police Force as well as the Suva Retailers Association, what are some of the stringent measures or the COVID-19 safety measures that have been put in place by SCC to protect all Fijians in and around the capital city?
So the message that we've taken is anyone coming to the market have to wear a mask. It's mandatory. No mask, no entrance. Same thing now applies to the bus. We have requested that all bus operators to assist us on this. So the bus operators have agreed to ensure that anyone boarding the bus now have to have a mask.
What happens to those who do not adhere to these restrictions or these safety measures that are being put in place by the Suva City Council?
So we will report them to the relevant authority because these are breaches, and they will probably have to take measures to ensure that we don't encourage or let people get away with this not wearing of mask and the other disciplines.
My last question, sir, how long will these restrictions be in place or be enforced?
So if it goes for 14 days, it will be 14 days. If it goes for 28 days, it will be still 28 days. But we have to take ownership. If we want to help in addressing this issue, please cooperate.
And time for sports now with Jamie.
Good Edwin, and good evening. Ahead in sports. Modenadangi's contract terminated. And training worry for national swimmers. This and more coming up. First up in sports tonight, the Fiji Rugby Union has terminated Sebuloni Modenadangi's contract with the Fiji 7 side after a number of disciplinary issues at the first leg of the Super 7 series in Singatoka earlier this year. This was confirmed to FBC Sports by Fiji 7's coach Gareth Baber. Venina Rakautonga with the details.
Disciplinary issues led up to the termination of Modenadangi's contract.
It was after the Sevens tournament in Lawanga that I returned to Sevens camp, which when I was notified about my dismissal. I guess that is also where I knew my Olympic dream was going to end.
Sevens head coach Gareth Baber says the dismissal was his decision, but Modenadangi may get a second chance.
If given the chance at wearing the white jersey, I am always ready. I have learned from my mistake, trying to better myself because I know most followers of the sport are young kids.
The lanky utility player apologized to the nation, the FRU, and those who have backed him during his early days in his rugby career. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
Inspired by Leone Nakarawa's magic on the rugby field, 18-year-old Sean Algar decided to chase a career in the sport. The Australian-born currently plays lock forward for the Suva Under-19 Skipper Provincial Cup team with the dream to one day play for the Flying Fijians. Tali Materukula reports.
Standing at 1.98 meter, the young lock wants to follow Nakarawa's shoes.
I think it's because of his offload and his skills. Like motivated to practice more and try and become like him, I guess.
With his plans already mapped, Algar says it's just a matter of executing them.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for places overseas to try and go with school and rugby, try and build my rugby skills and talent, and hopefully get far, and hopefully one day play for Flying Fijians.
Coach Malakai Tueli says Algar will be an asset to any team.
Creating plays for us out wide and in the middle channels, and also our back three were functioning well as well.
Sean Algar played for the Neita Siri Under-19 team last year before making a switch to Suva this year for study purposes. He hopes to hone his skills, and a few pointers from Nakarawa has been beneficial. Talima Terkula, FBC Sports.
Buvelevu Secondary School has big ambitions for its athletes who will hopefully compete in a deferred Coca-Cola Games this year. One of the athletes the school is banking on to do them proud is Year 10 student Passima Lavolalau. Eleanor Turangeview caught up with her recently and files this report.
Shy but determined, 16-year-old Passima Lavolalau is one of Budalevu Secondary School's promising athlete.
Passima is our junior girl 3,000 meters runner. She had won 3,000 meters in last year's zone competition, and she also won this year's zone competition. So we are looking forward to see her perform.
Lavolalau first took part in the Fiji finals 2 years ago and will be looking to level up her achievement.
When I was in year 8, I ran in the 1,500 and I took out the silver medal. This year I'm going for gold.
The year 10 student knows competition will be tough, but she will be giving her all when she takes to the tracks on the day.
I have been training hard for my 3,000 meter event and I have been praying about it. I thank the Lord for allowing me to give my best in this.
For the next couple of months, the Lavena native is working on perfecting her time to achieve her dream of getting gold for her school. Eleanor Turangeview, FBC Sports.
Cricket is one of these sports that's continuing preparations for upcoming events. Apart from the annual general meeting being moved to a later date, Cricket Fiji this week engaged the men's squad in training sessions. Aquila Dama has more.
The current restrictions have not deterred the national men's squad preparations, as cricket is a non-contact sport.
So we are a bit in an advantage position in that sense, as we can still continue with our training. Even though we have ceased our competition from next week for the women's, but training is still continuing. But we are advising our association team, especially the women's, and our national cricket training squad to still maintain those restrictions.
There is a lot to be covered by the national coach, which is why the Fiji men's team trains 3 times a week.
We announced the fitness program on the last week. That's we begin this week on Monday. We have announced 3 days in a week. That's a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Cricket Fiji has postponed all competitions until further notice to comply with government's COVID-19 restrictions. The national men's squad, however, will meet here again at Albert Park on Monday for training. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
Just when they were gaining some momentum, Fiji swimming reps will have to endure the same challenges all over again. Following the cancellation of sporting events due to the recent COVID-19 outbreak, the Federation has had to postpone its Olympic qualifying event. Federation official Teresa Chia says requests for available training centers for its 3 athletes in Suva have been futile.
Some of them are really down at the moment because they've trained hard and they looked forward to this competition where most of them probably had been tapering off. But now I think they would have to go back to when it was originally locked down, where they would have to either find time to go and train in the sea or find a private pool where they could train and also do their gym work.
The qualifiers were supposed to be held tomorrow but have now been shifted to May 21st. The Penrith Panthers claimed their 7th straight win last night, beating the Newcastle Knights 24-6 in their Round 7 NRL clash. They've now won 22 straight regular season matches and haven't been beaten at home since July 2019. Here are the tries from the match. Today's Player of the Day, Kelechi Iheanacho, has scored 13 goals in all competitions this year for Leicester. The 13th goal registered this morning against the West Brom in the English Premier League clash. In today's Quirky Sport of the Day, we visit Poland and its dragon boat racing, also referred to as tug of oars. So that's it from Sports Tonight. Coming up, Angie joins you with weather, and in Weird and Wonderful, illusionist brings magic to the streets. Find out more after the break.
A very big bula to you and welcome to the weather world. The weather was more attractive probably because it's a Friday. The sun was absolutely outstanding. Now that the weekend is here, let's see what the weather will be like. To the west, conditions were fine. Some places were warmer than the others. Sigatoka had lows of 26 degrees. That's the lowest amongst all. The clouds will get their rain clouds and probably we can expect a wet night. Eastwards from Pakaba to Suva, it was humid, 70% humidity to be exact. The night will see showers. And moving to the north, beautiful weather, the perfect beach one, but keep in mind showers will start rolling in from upper north. The places we will be checking out today is Sigatoka, Lautoka and Savu-Savu. The warmest out of all was Lautoka at 33 degrees. It felt like 38 degrees. The other two had low 30s. Temperature still felt quite warm. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 9:39 p.m. with high tide at 3:58 a.m. Sunrise at 6:17. For tomorrow, few odd showers which shouldn't be a bother to your weekend, but do stay safe and avoid places where you shouldn't be. And looking further onto Sunday, it's the return of the showers, so stay in if you have to, avoid the showers and avoid the virus. Now on to our shot of the day. An aerial view of Victoria Parade in Suva. Very beautiful indeed. Remember to send us pictures if you have, thank you. And if you haven't, then send it with a small description to our FBC News Facebook page. That's all from the Weather World. Have a great Friday. It's back to Edwin.
Thanks, Angie. In Fijian Pulse, we ask, do you think the Coca-Cola Games should be moved to next year?
I don't think the Coca-Cola Games should be held this year because our lives are more important.
Due to this current pandemic, it's better to just move to next year so that families and friends, especially children, can prepare well for the game.
I think the Coca-Cola Games should be held this year so the athletes and everyone involved can enjoy it.
Yes, the game should be moved to next year because of the pandemic.
And in the world of the weird and the wonderful, a New York street illusionist has a mission to bring his audience joy through his passion. He loses himself in his love for magic and allows passers-by to step outside of their everyday lives.
I just want to make people happy and just destroy their minds. New York City is like the most truthful audience you're gonna find.
Okay, wow.
It's like no BS.
He doesn't know what to do. Do I take it?
I definitely want to give people that feeling that I had when I first fell in love with magic.
What do you think about that, Charlie?
It was good. It took me away from the real world. If I could just make people forget about their problems for just a few seconds, that's, positive. My proudest accomplishments had to be making my parents proud. Before both of my parents passed away, they were really appreciative on the path that I took. Most people don't find their passion in life. I love magic. Magic is me. My name's Kid Ace, and I'm an illusionist.
And recapping our main stories, adhere or face lockdown. No mask, no ride on public transports, and funeral screening exceeds 500. For these stories and others, tune in to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we are asking, have you downloaded the Care Fiji app? Visit our FBC News website to answer. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos, email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again on Monday. Until then, stay safe. Modemanda.